Welcome to Horn Africa Insight, your source for East Africa's top news. In today's update, we cover the Ethiopia-Egypt clash at the United Nations over the Ethiopians' Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Kenya's push for a trade deal with the United States, an analyst's view on Ethiopia's Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam triumph, Egypt's renewed support for Somalia, and Ethiopian Airlines' bold expansion strategy. These 5 stories are shaping the Horn of Africa. Subscribe, hit the bell, and let's dive in. Hashtag Horn Africa Us Insight. Ethiopia and Egypt have exchanged pointed accusations at the United Nations Security Council over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, referencing letters dated September 9th and 10th, 2025. These letters, publicly shared on Facebook, set the stage for renewed tensions. Egypt's foreign minister, Badr Abdelhadi, argued that Ethiopia's unilateral operation of Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, inaugurated on September 9th, violates international law, particularly the 2015 Declaration of Principles. Egypt, an arid nation dependent on the Nile for the survival of nearly 150 million people across Egypt and Sudan, claimed the dam threatens its water security. With only 500 cubic meters of water per person annually, Egypt cited risks of significant harm during droughts, pointing to an International Court of Justice advisory opinion on transboundary waters. Cairo urged the council to halt Ethiopia's unilateral actions, framing them as a threat to regional stability. Egypt highlighted its restraint since 2011, referencing earlier UNSC correspondence. In Council's 2020 call for a binding agreement, Ethiopia's foreign minister, Gideon Timotheos, countered that Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD's operation, complies fully with the 2015 agreement and promotes equitable use of the Nile. He described the inauguration, attended by African leaders and AU officials, as a milestone in African self-reliance. Ethiopia rejected Egypt's claims of historic rights as baseless, noting Cairo's refusal to ratify the 2024 Nile Basin Cooperative Framework Agreement. Gideon advised Egypt to explore groundwater and desalination, calling Nile dependence unsustainable. He accused Cairo of obstructing talks and destabilizing the Horn while positioning the dam as a climate-friendly project. The unresolved question remains: can Ethiopia and Egypt find a diplomatic formula to balance their competing Nile interests? Kenya is pushing to finalize a trade deal with the United States by December 2025, according to Trade Minister Lee Kinyanjui in a September 19th Reuters interview. The move aims to secure export access amid uncertainties over the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, set to expire this month. After meeting USTR Jameson Greer in Washington, Kinyanjui voiced optimism about concluding talks that began in 2020. If successful, Kenya would become the first sub-Saharan African nation with a direct trade deal with the U.S. In 2024, Kenya exported $737 million in goods to the U.S., about 10% of its total exports, with AGOA providing duty-free access for 32 African nations. The urgency comes from both AGOA's looming expiry and the 10% tariff President Trump imposed in April 2025. Kenya's textile industry, which employs 300,000 people and supplies major U.S. retailers, could face disruption. Still, Kinyanjui emphasized Kenya's relative competitiveness compared to Asian producers, hinting at new opportunities for U.S. firms. He hopes to replicate AGOA's benefits in a reciprocal deal, but declined to disclose specific provisions. Talks, which had stalled under President Biden, resumed in August after Kenya's designation as a major non-NATO ally in 2024. Addressing U.S. criticism of Kenya's China ties, Kinyanjui defended exports to Beijing as part of a balanced trade approach. The White House has not commented on AGOA's future. If AGOA lapses, job losses loom, but Kinyanjui insists Kenya's strong position will carry the day. The question is, can Kenya secure this deal to safeguard its economy? An opinion piece published on September 17th by Sudanese Arab analyst El-Fadil Ibrahim declared Ethiopia's completion of the Renaissance Dam a victory that reshapes Nile Basin politics, suggesting the long-feared water war is over. The article framed Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam's $5 billion inauguration on September 9th as a milestone that shifts influence from Egypt to Ethiopia. Egypt, constrained by regional conflicts and reliant on desalination projects producing 10 million cubic meters daily by 2031, is adapting to a new reality. Sudan, torn by civil war since 2023, depends on Ethiopian electricity despite unpaid debts, having signed a 2022 technical deal with Addis Ababa. Ibrahim noted that the UAE, once a mediator, is now a stakeholder, with power purchase deals showing alignment with Ethiopia's energy ambitions. Meanwhile, Egypt has pursued security pacts with Somalia and Eritrea to counter Ethiopia's Somaliland port agreement. But these alliances remain fragile, given Somalia's reliance on Ethiopian troops to fight al-Shabaab. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, who attended the Renaissance Dam's inauguration, even offered to mediate, signaling neutrality. Upstream nations like Kenya and South Sudan, also dependent on Ethiopian power, appear increasingly aligned with Addis Ababa's integration vision. The challenge for Ethiopia, Ibrahim wrote, is to wield the dam not as a tool of nationalism, but as a driver of cooperation. Yet tensions over Red Sea port access and continued Egyptian protests at the UN suggest unresolved friction. His analysis, while favoring Ethiopia's ascendancy, leaves open the critical question: can Ethiopian Renaissance Dam foster cooperation rather than conflict? Egypt has reaffirmed its solidarity with Somalia, pledging continued support for its security and stability, according to a recent Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement. Egypt emphasized its role in the African Union support and stabilization mission in Somalia, which seeks to empower Somalia to secure its territory and advance toward lasting stability. The statement highlighted Egypt's partnership with Somalia in counterterrorism, referencing the August 2024 Military Cooperation Protocol and the January 2025 Cairo Declaration, signed by Presidents Sisi and Mohamud. The deal covered military, cultural, educational, and economic cooperation, with a strong emphasis on training and equipping Somalia's army. Egypt also expressed readiness to help Sudan in counterterrorism. The agreements reflect Cairo's goal of being a stabilizer in the Horn, offering support even as its rivalry with Ethiopia intensifies over GERD. Analyst Elfadil Ibrahim has argued that Egypt's pact with Somalia is largely a counter to Ethiopia's Somaliland deal, but fragile, given Somalia's reliance on Ethiopian forces against al-Shabaab. Still, Egypt's engagement underscores its determination to project influence through partnerships. The key question is whether this partnership can bring durable stability to Somalia, or whether it risks deepening the Ethiopia-Egypt rivalry in the Horn. Ethiopian Airlines has unveiled a bold plan to expand its network to 303 destinations by 2040, nearly doubling its current reach. The airline aims to carry nearly 64 million passengers annually and handle almost 2 million tons of cargo, supported by a future fleet of 303 aircraft. At the heart of this vision is the $10 billion Bishoftu International Airport, designed to be Africa's largest hub. With an initial capacity of 60 million passengers, expandable to 110 million, BIA is positioned to rival Dubai as a global gateway. The African Development Bank is leading financing, with Ethiopian Airlines contributing 20 to 30% and seeking further equity partners. Executives stressed that no direct government funding will be provided, framing the project as a public-private partnership aligned with Ethiopia's economic strategy. Analyst Elfadil Ibrahim noted that Ethiopia's influence, already boosted by GERD, could expand further through aviation dominance, but he cautioned that financing challenges affect investor confidence. Today, Ethiopian Airlines already connects over 160 destinations worldwide and is a member of Star Alliance. Its cargo operations are set for growth, supporting African exports. The vision is clear: to make Ethiopia Africa's aviation hub by 2040. The question is, can Ethiopian Airlines achieve this ambitious target and cement Ethiopia's role as a global connector? From the GERD clash at the UN to Kenya's trade negotiations, Ethiopia's shifting Nile dynamics, Egypt's support for Somalia and Ethiopian Airlines aviation ambitions, the Horn of Africa is undergoing major transformations. Comment below with your thoughts, subscribe for updates, and follow us on X for more. And don't miss our shorts for daily insights. Horn Africa Insight, where East Africa's story shines. #Horn Africa Insight.